Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a special edition of African Hour. And our focus today is on the Ambazonian struggle. Today is the 18th of April, 2021. And I think that it is but befitting for us to pay homage to our people on the ground, in ground zero, those who have suffered, those who have died, those who are in the hospital, and those who are really paying a daily price for us to get our liberation. I would like to light a candle in their memory. And our special guest is someone who needs no introduction. He's coming in from Norway. His comrade Agbo Derek, senior advisor, Ambazonian Revolution, Oslo, Norway. So when our struggle started, there is a lot that we have done, that I have done from lower. And I know each and every one of us is fighting this struggle in their various way. I'm one who does not ask, what have you done for the struggle? Because I'm in no position to do that. But the little that I can do, I provide platforms for our experts. I let them speak for themselves. I do not bring people to criticize others, but I bring people to share knowledge and let us work together in solidarity, as the eminent Professor Anyangwe rightly puts it, that all Ambazonian fighters, leaders should work in solidarity. So it is on that note that I bring in our senior advisor, Mr. Derek Abo from Norway. Sir, you have the floor. And before you take the floor, I would like you to maybe shed some light on what we are really fighting for, because generally we should be able to get a clear understanding as to what our problem is and what are the consequences of our problems that we are fighting. Because if all of us speak in one language, the international community would know that we are working in solidarity and that we know where we are going. So, sir, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Kimben, for the good work you are doing for Ambazonia. And I believe that all Ambazonia are seeing your good work because I can go on YouTube, I see the comments, and it's really wonderful. I will as well encourage you to continue. The Ambazonian history is a very broad history, and every one of us try to give a bit of what we know about Ambazonia. So a single person cannot actually describe everything about the Ambazonian struggle. But just as you asked, before we go to the marginalization, which you started in the beginning by giving your own personal experiences, I will just want to brief us about our struggle, why we are fighting. You know, the reason why we are fighting today is caused by just one and only one problem, which is the occupation of Cameroon by the occupation of Cameroon in Ambazonia. This occupation is the sole problem of why we are fighting today. And of course, it has its own consequences, which actually today, some of our brothers who are federalists are trying to define them as root causes. But actually, they are not root causes. There's just one root cause and one solution. The root cause is the annexation of or the occupation of Ambazonia by Cameroon, and the only solution is Cameroon terminating its occupation in Ambazonia.
Okay,
However, there are some.
let me just chip in yesterday, because yesterday the eminent Professor Anyangwe actually was able to explain the difference between a trust territory and a colonial entity. And he said that Nigeria was a colonial entity under the British, but Cameroon was a trust territory under the United Nations. In which case, if I rightly understood what he was saying, that Nigeria owed its independence from Britain, and as being a trust territory under the United Nations, would it be right to say that um, being a trust territory under a trust territory under the United Nations and administered by Britain, would it also be right to say that we owe our independence to Britain or to the United Nations? Can you elaborate on that? Because if that is very true, then La République was a trust territory administered by the French. So too, we were a trust territory administered by the English. So starting from that, you would see that we and La République are two different entities.
Exactly. The first thing is to be able to define who is a trustee. A trustee is someone who takes legal control over your possession, which means the legal system gives that person the authority to control, to take care of you. At one point, when they find that you are able of controlling yourself, they hand back the powers to you. So when we look at the trusteeship agreement, Britain was not our trustee. Britain merely came as a third party brought in by the United Nations, which means Britain was a trustee to the United Nations. And we, the territory of Ambazonia, or formerly called the British Southern Cameroon, was a trust territory to the United Nations, meaning that the UN was our trustee. What does that imply? It merely implies that the action of Britain was carrying action on behalf of the United Nations, which means the actions that Britain were carrying in these trust territories were carried out in strict conformity with the agreement they have with the United Nations. And the UN had also an agreement with us, and that is that agreement that most people don't even say. And I even see most even professors and even in universities and colleges, they don't tell people that the UN had had an agreement with us after the Second World War. They agreed that they will take control over us, train us, and grant us the independence. So they don't tell people that. So when they could not do all this job, they decided to bring in a third party. And in the case of Ambazonia, they brought in Britain. Britain accepted as a trustee to the UN. And then in French Cameroon, they brought in France. So our independence does not depend on the person who is a trustee to the UN, because they had just one function. The function was limited to sovereignty, that's preparing us for independence. So the Southern Cameroon, or the British Southern Cameroon, or Ambazonia today, does not owe its independence to Britain, but rather from the United Nations.
So, so would it be right to say that we are doing the wrong thing, blaming Britain for not granting our independence?
Exactly. Britain was not responsible for granting independence. Britain, if you look at the trusteeship agreement, very clearly, if you even start from Article 8 going down to 11, 12, you will find that Britain's actions were limited just to sovereignty. They could do certain things. For example, they could decide to change to divide the territory, which actually they did. So Britain is not wrong by dividing southern Cameroons and the northern Cameroons. They had the right given to them in that trusteeship agreement. And that's why you see they proceeded. So even if you sue Britain today that they divided the British Southern Cameroon, you will not make it out because they had that authority from the trusteeship agreement, which they had with with the UN. So our people should not go about, accusing Britain, because you will never defeat them. They have the trusteeship agreement. They will bring it in court and show that they were not responsible for granting independence. The sole body that was responsible for granting independence to the trust territories, it is one specified trust territory, was the General Assembly of the United Nations, not even the Security Council, but the General Assembly, which they did.
Then on that note, if at the United Nations they voted 64 to 23 and how many abstention, because around that time the total membership of the United Nations, if my memory is correct, was 100. And then those who voted for us to get our independence were 64. So are you telling me now that by the United Nations, they granted us independence by that vote?
Of course they did. They did grant us independence.
So, and then if I may follow up too, and then by that vote too, since French Cameroon was a trust territory, they also granted French Cameroon independence. So independence of French Cameroon was not given by France, but by the UN. Is that true?
Yes, you are right. Those are some of the things that the trusteeship administration played with the minds of the people. They deceived the people by telling them that they were the ones to grant them independence. And that was very, the people they were naive. They were not, most of them were people of moderate education. And you can imagine for 46 years, they sobered the French. And in our side, we sobered the English. So we taught them, our people thought that, okay, these are actually the people to grant independence. So they never took time to go and know why those people were there and what were their limits. That was the mistake our people did. And in the French Cameroon, de Gaulle administration went around deceiving the people, telling them that, you see, you vote even for the economic cooperation, when you vote for it, then we will grant you independence very fast, which was wrong because they were deceiving the people. The French administration knew very well that they were not allowed to take control of the resources of the people. So what they needed was an evidence to tell the other members of the UN that no, these people freely entered into agreement with us, because it was allowed for nations to enter bilateral relationship. You could lobby with other countries and do that. So the French knew that if they don't ask these French countries to sign that agreement, that's the economic cooperation, then the world will stand against them. So they forced the people and deceived them. And together with Foncha and Ayijo's administration, telling them that, no, you see, it is important to sign it because these people will grant us independence. They never told the people that France or Britain was not responsible for granting independence. It was the United Nations.
Okay, so knowing that French Cameroon got its independence 1st of January 1960. So if we had the foresight and the wisdom at the time, we would have also equally declared our own independence. We were not even supposed to ask anybody or Britain, because at the UN they had voted 64 in our favor of independence, right? So
you're right.
So in which case, well, we are not blaming our forefathers. They did what they did within their own knowledge and at that time, because I hate some people always cast stones, but hindsight is 2020. I am not in the blame game.
So communication is very important to establish collaboration and to get unity. So these leaders and especially Ambazonians themselves, I think that the Ambazonians themselves are helping the leaders to take the extreme position they are taking. Because the powers is in the hands of Ambazonians, not in the hands of these leaders. Ambazonians have the power to tell these leaders that, look, if you don't want to start communicating, that's the least thing is communication. Start communicating with each other, and then you build collaboration, and then the unity will come. Because the idea of forcing, saying that, oh, this man should come under me, or this other one should come under me, it doesn't show your ability to collaborate. You who is asking the other man to come under you merely tells the other people that you can't collaborate. Because where there is genuine collaboration, you should be able to tolerate. You should be able to see why this other man is doing something the way, or is looking at something different, the different way from you. So once that is not there, we'll always have problem. So we should start by communicating, calling each other. Take your phone, call a man from the SACOCAM or IG or the AGOFC IG, discuss with the person, and then from there you start, you help now bring these leaders and tell them that, look, we think that we can collaborate. And this is very important because some of us have met big challenges in this revolution because we went out there with the wrong message. Just to answer your question where you asked the question about that some of the mistakes we did. We went out there from 2016. I can remember that when we were fighting for Barrister Bala to include federation in the agenda which they had in the discussion with the Cameroon government, it was not easy because federation actually was not in the agenda, but it later on came in. But we knew that by calling for federation, Cameroon government will not accept because they are focused on centralization and bend to see that we do not collaborate with them. But we knew that when that came in, it will create the dynamics, which of course it did. And we will be able now to bring forward the clear agenda of us separating totally from French Cameroon. So our people, when the mistake they did after that was to go out with the wrong information. And the wrong information was not to tell the world about the occupation of Cameroon. We instead went out there and was demonstrating that we want independence, we want this, we want recognition. But we failed one thing. Cameroon, La République du Cameroun, actually had recognized or recognizes Ambazonia as a territory, or the Republic of Ambazonia. They did that through their legislature, through their through their courts, even in their parliament. So they are the first country to recognize Ambazonia. So we should never go out there and be telling the world that there is no country that recognizes us. No, French Cameroon is the first, that's the occupier, is the first country to recognize us.
Let me, we are wrapping up now.
Yeah.
So is it also true to say that the African Union, I am not really an expert in this, let me make my mistakes, you may correct me, that there is a clause in the African Union constitution that countries should go back, maintain their land, their boundaries as of independence?
Exactly.
And if that happens, are we not autonomous?
We are autonomous.
And then if that is the case, why should we now be complaining of marginalization and giving our rights to French Cameroon? Is that not what French Cameroon wants to be telling the whole world? But we are doing it. We are making it easier for them.
Exactly. You are just saying that. The right thing.
Is it not the reason why once we agitate, because they think that they want to tell the international community that this is an internal matter, not an international matter between two states, equal states. And our people are clamoring for the federation. And that is what French Cameroon will say. It is an internal matter. They can control it and control us, right?
Exactly.
So now, just briefly, what would you say about those who are clamoring for federation and of blessed memory, the eminent Cardinal Tumi, who came out, who stated that his position is that of federation. And I know also there are very, very prominent political leaders now on the ground, as well as some of our traditional rulers that are talking about federation. Are you telling me that they don't understand what they are talking about?
No, they do. They do understand. But we should understand that the message we went out there in the beginning of 2017 actually affirms their position. So we are affirming their position without even knowing that we are also talking about that. And that's why you see the African Union sits quietly, because they know, they recognize Ambazonia. And they know that French Cameroon recognizes Ambazonia as a nation. They know that the international community recognizes Ambazonia as a nation, even the United Nations. But now our messages we went out there was portraying the position of federalists. And Cameroon government picks that up and then propagates it. Because if you yourself go out there and say that there's no country that recognizes you, you go out there and tell the world that you see you are fighting for independence, the United Nations never granted you independence, then what are you doing? You are giving French Cameroon the opportunity to tell, okay, since you are fighting for power, okay, we'll give you federation. They will bring people like late Cardinal Tumi of blessed memories to sound that position. They'll bring people like Barrister Monzo to sound that position. And you bring people like Bala who went around, and Frundi propagating federation. Because they see that you yourself, you are standing for that. Instead of going there, tell them that, look, we are an independent state, recognized by international instruments, recognized even by the occupier French, La République du Cameroun. What we want is them to leave our territory. When they leave, we can now sit as two nations to collaborate, work in the come out with bilateral relationship, terms of, we can decide, okay, there's free visa among these two countries. We can decide, okay, we are using, we'll be giving you oil at this price, or we can say, we will be using your airport. You know why we are billing us? All those things were supposed to be what we were to go out there and demonstrate for Cameroon to terminate that occupation and show the world that they themselves recognize us. But when we don't do it, we start talking of marginalization. Then we are instead confirming the position of people like the late Cardinal. And the world now listens and say, okay, maybe these people don't know what they want. And they will not ever come to tell you that, look, you are in an independent country. They will stay quiet. Because you yourself, you are talking about marginalization, demonstrating you want independence, you want this, you want sovereign to be recognized, of which you are already recognized. Ambazonia is well recognized. If you look at the Bakassi judgment case, it is clearly, they say, Cameroon, go to your borders of independence. Nigeria, go to your border of independence. So now that country that is there is Ambazonia. It's a buffer zone. You won't recognize. And that's why they, in 2010, Ali Trotsky came with 2 maps. If somebody comes with 2 maps to give it to the president of French Cameroon, what does that mean? He's telling you that that body recognizes these 2 maps as 2 entities. Good. So you cannot tell the world that they don't recognize you. You cannot.
Thank you very much, comrade, for articulating that point. And I would also point that La République is not sleeping. Visually, they are working very hard. If you see what they are putting out there at the international forums now, and even the map of Cameroon, they make French Cameroon very large and make southern Cameroon very, very tiny. And people, that speaks a lot of volume. I want that our leaders should be actually correcting this, because you see, they know, they say what the eye sees, seeing is believing. Exactly. They are sending a message that we are too small to be a nation. and that the world should understand that we are bigger than 94 countries uh, in the world in size, and
Exactly.
let alone talk about the population.
You're right.
So, but when you see the magnitude of their deception, you will see that that deception comes because of they know that we are rich in resources more than them, in manpower more than them, and so with all this, I think we really need to, as you express, that communication amongst our leaders should be a two-way and constant stream between them. Uh, so while we have very limited time, we started by paying homage to our fallen heroes, and also paying homage to our patriots on the ground who are fighting. You and I are here talking. Those who bear the brunt of this war are those on the ground.
Exactly.
And if you could only imagine the courage of those, our brothers who have given up a lot. Some of them are graduates. Some of them, I mean, this is something that I think we can never thank them enough. And I would also call on everyone, all of us, to be able to chip in whatever means we can to support our boys, brothers, and sisters on the ground. I will not even say boys, that's being disrespectful. Our men and women who are on the ground, because you and I sitting out here, it offends me so much to see some of these virtual leaders uh, looking down on them and probably not giving them that due respect. So what would you say? Look at the mirror and talk to our soldiers, our parents, brothers and sisters on the ground who are fighting, and even those who are in the hospital, those who are in the refugee camps. What will you tell them?
Well, I'll first of all start by thanking them for their support for this struggle, for standing for this, for what is truth. Because when you stand for truth, nothing can uproot you. And this is what our people believe in, truth. And from what you have just said, if you look, Cameroon is not willing to give up that territory because of its economic advantages. So we should know that our boys or our people on ground zero, our mothers, our parents have a long way to go. And if that is the case, we who are here in the diaspora working hard, and some of them who are on ground zero contributing for this struggle should make sure that they double their efforts. Because until we do that, Cameroon is ready to use our resources to bring an end to this war. So we will continue to encourage them, and especially I will call it those who actually are not putting anything for this struggle. Because if you look very well, not up to 25% of Ambazonians are actually putting in money financially. They are putting in other efforts. But what is important for our people on ground zero is that financial support. So I will beg that as one of the people in this revolution, that we keep on. Your $1, your one CFA, your one naira is very, very important for the support of our boys on ground zero. Let's give them the materials they need. Let's equip them so that they can resist until help comes. And that is why it is very important for our leaders to work together, so that when they start communicating, they start putting their energies together, we'll get a better way forward than each group just working on their own, and finally we distribute this energy on negative effort. If we can converge it to a positive effort fighting the enemy, it will be very, very important, successful for us. So I will encourage everyone to do his best and support the revolution. For
Thank
victory is
you.
ours.
Thank you very much, comrade. I would equally would put you on the spot. You and I are in the diaspora. There's a lot of talk without substance for us coming out here in the diaspora. I think you've already touched on this.
Yeah.
Look at the mirror now. You are out there in Norway. I'm here across the ocean in America. What would you equally tell our brothers and sisters in the diaspora who say that you guys are crazy? You guys are crazy. I don't think that we will ever get this. What is your message to them?
Well, I would just want to tell them that, or to communicate to them that you are the ones to define who you are. There is nobody who will come and define who you are. And they should know one thing, that destiny does not depend on the position you hold, but the steps you take. Just as our forefathers took a step to create a nation, which today is under annexation, we can as well redefine that by taking that step to support this revolution and bringing back Ambazonia to what it was destined to. So I will call on them to rethink and see the importance of joining this revolution, putting all their energy to see that we go through, because it is important for our well-being and for our future generation, so that never again we should allow what is happening to us happen to our coming generation.
Thank you very much, comrade. When I listen when I listen to some of the videos and about the civil rights movement here in this country, there is one theme that's so powerful, which says that eyes on the prize. And sometimes when I look at our leaders, they instead quarrel amongst themselves. I look at them as all of us out here in the diaspora are like hunters in the bush. Our eyes should be on the catch, because when we fight amongst ourselves, try to let others down, we let the catch, the antelope, we take our eyes off the prize, and the antelope will be running away. And in the end, we will stay in the bush fighting.
Exactly.
And we will go home without anything. So my also advice to our leaders and all of us in the diaspora, you have already spoken on that, is that we should collaborate, we should act in solidarity, we should fight behind, and when we come out in public, let's demonstrate our maturity and let us show the world that we are that nation that was the first democratic country in Africa, and that it is still in our DNA.
Exactly.
And I just would like to take this opportunity to thank you and also encourage this discussion. My role is to bring in different people to exchange their ideas, because I feel that information is never monopolized. I have had the opportunity to bring guests on my program, and some were angry that I had to invite others on the same program. I am not here to speak for people. I know that information, it can never be monopolized. And I learn every day that I bring my guest on the show. So with that, comrade, if there are any closing remarks that you would want to say, maybe I would also like you to tell our viewers and audience what function, what role did you play in the struggle in Cameroon before going out there in Norway, and what made you to become a senior advisor to the struggle?
Well, thank you. Just as you talked about communication, there's something very important I will wish that Ambazonians do, especially the activists. You know, activism is not just going out there to talk. When they are talking, they should be talking constructively. You don't just go out there, spill out information which are not beneficial to the struggle. So I will advise our brothers to start thinking, limiting the way they go out there and talk, so that we don't destroy this revolution with wrong information. And that is what I learned. I learned this from Chief Ayamba Otu, late Pa, who was the SCNC secretary, because I joined the SCNC in 1996, and in Manu, and I was the organizing secretary, and then acting as an assistant public secretary in Manu. And with that, I was now sent to Dr. Yombang, late Dr. Yombang, who actually schooled me together with Visha Fai, but who was the Secretary General. But Dr. Yombang was the one who actually schooled me. If you come to my house here, you'll find catalogs of documents that he gave me that they are here in the house. And that was most people ask, how do you get some of this information? But I have these documents here, given to me by Dr. Yombang. That is how I joined the SCNC. And then from there, I was made coordinator in Manu. Why? Because when I was there, I was going from village to village selling agrochemicals. I opened the first agrochemical store in Manfred town there. So I was moving from village to village, talking with farmers, educating them on how to use agrochemicals for their cocoa. So that is how I worked there. And when they were arresting, we had a commissioner there called Mboma. So he was arresting most of us who were working with the SCNC and so on. So that was one of the things. When they came for arrest, they arrested people like late Pa Ako, you know, so they were coming for us. So information was sent to me. I was in the village selling cocoa, so they asked me not to come back. So from there, that was how I escaped. You know, from Nigeria, you can, from my village, from our place, you can cross the borders very easily. And I know all that route from Nigeria, you know. So that is how I found myself here, knowing very well that they were after us. I came here, when I came here, the Banjul case was about to start. So some of the financial support that I gave them while I was here in Norway. And then a person like late Justice Ebon, he made me the coordinator. I still have his appointment here with me. He made me the coordinator of Scandinavia. And that is how I started lobbying here with the Norwegian government until in 2003, I brought in Dr. Ayaba. Yeah, if you ask him, he will tell you the first time he came to Norway was 2003. And we went to the Norwegian Foreign Ministry, where they told us actually what is needed for a revolution, what we should do. And we started from there. And from there, he left now, went to Germany and which Dr. Ayaba, you hear Dr. Ayaba took the German embassy. So I have a rundown of the Ambazonian struggle, because I joined in 1996, but in 1984, I was the youth secretary of the Cameroon Democratic Party. So I started it in school. And how did I become that? I traveled to French Cameroon as a student in 1984. I left school, being a young man. It was my first time to reach French Cameroon alone. My father just said, okay, you are now you are going to Form 3 now, you should adventure. So now he paid me the ticket. I left for French Cameroon. So I was proud, being a young man. And by then we had just read a book known by George Orwell, 1984. And then we've also read The Animal Farm.
Animal Farm.
Yeah, so they are written by George Orwell, say, the Animal Farm. So I went there. My aunt sent me, where my aunt was renting from a Bassa woman. So the woman saw me and then attached his son to me because he wanted the son to learn English. So one morning, my aunt sent me and the son to Marché Central. We were staying just, if you know Carrefour des Églises, you can just walk from Carrefour des Églises to Marché Central. So as young guys, I came now, we wanted to enter this Sotuk. You know, it was free, these buses in the day of so we wanted to enter. So as I was going inside the bus, I was backing entry. And then facing my friend who was also coming, the young Bassa boy. So suddenly one man turned my face and then slapped me because I was speaking in English. We were discussing with the guy. The whole bus, people were standing. They sat quietly. They said nothing. But it was so everybody was confused because they never knew what happened. They saw me backing. Maybe they thought I matched the person. So. But one woman looked at her and said, no, mais tu ne peux pas taper un enfant comme ça. So you cannot just beat a child like that. That was a mother because she could not bear it. Then the man turned and said, ben, n'est-ce pas, c'est les trucs-ci que Aïdjo est parti prendre au Nigeria pour venir nous déranger avec. Ce sont les Biafrans.
So isn't it the rubbish that Ahijo went and brought?
Is it not the rubbish that he said, this is a Biafra, why are you bothered? This mother was so sad. And to my greatest surprise, nobody said a word. All francophones in the bus. I was the only one speaking. So my friend sat quiet. He was also a young boy. He started, we wanted him to cry. So we left, we went to Marché Central and came back. So I now moved to my grandfather's house in Aqua, that's Albenguana, the first Cameroon bank manager. Some of you know him. When he saw my face, that was when he asked me, but what happened to your face? I went, sat quiet, then I called him, I said, Pa. He said, but what happened to your face? No, I told him, no, look, you see, I was slapped in the bus. And the person who slapped me told me that I am Biafra. Now I want to ask you, are we really Biafran? Do we come from Nigeria? That was how my grandfather sat me down there in Aqua and told me that, look, we are not Biafrans, but we were attached to Nigeria. And finally, we, under plebiscite, we joined French Cameroon. That is how now he introduced to me his political party, the Cameroon Democratic Party, which actually you had people like Yondo Black, even you have other people, even Dinka himself was one of the lawyers of that party. You had Dr. Yombang and other, you have Tumazang. So but the objective of that party was to the return of a two-state federation. So I became interested, from there I started getting interested in politics very young, And then I asked him, what part can I play? He laughed. I said, if you want to play a part, what you can do is to be the youth secretary in Manu. Start educating your own friends in school. So that is how now he made me the youth secretary of the Cameroon Democratic Party in Manu, which I now took, I started, talking to my friends. We started talking about a two-state. That was when we started finding out in history. We were trying to challenge even our history teacher, We said, no, there was two flags, two stars in the flag. The teacher, he himself would laugh, because he knew the real thing. And then you start asking, but where did you get this story? So I will tell him that, my uncle has a party, my grandfather has a party. They will say, okay, but that is the truth. But for now, just know that Cameroon has one flag. I say, okay. And we have just one star. So that is how I joined the struggle. Well, in 1996, I became now, I heard of the SCNC fighting for the total liberation of Ambazonia. And I saw that my party could not do anything to liberate Ambazonia or to return to the two-state federation. And worst of all, our Secretary General was, our chairman gave a letter to him, which he took to Paul Biya in the presidency. And up to date, I'm talking with you, he's still in the presidency. Up to date, from 1985, he's still there in the presidency. You understand what I mean? He never came back again. No, the Secretary General, he disappeared. We've not heard of him until I'm speaking with you today, now from 1995. So I knew from there that we will go nowhere with French Cameroon, because it is a centralized state with a well-defined plan to even exterminate Ambazonia in order to get that land. We should recall that this is a war for Cameroon. This is a war of survival. If we are not there, they will turn us poor as Central Africa. So they are bent to be in to have that territory. And that is why it is important for our people, our leaders, to start working together so that we don't waste our energies.
That's, well, comrade, your story is just the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly.
If I organize a show here and bring Southern Cameroonians to tell their ordeal, I think yours will be somehow minute, because we have gone through a lot.
Exactly.
And
you're right.
Sometimes Southern Cameroonians have become so immune to the torture that we don't even want to say it, and we want to express it now that we have the opportunity, that we want to say never again. The train has left the train station, and the final stop is Boya.
Exactly.
Come what may, no one gives you liberty, no one gives you freedom, no one gives you independence. You fight for it, and you take it.
Exactly.
By the bullet, by the ballot, and by all means necessary. And if to conclude, I would only say that to our courageous soldiers on the ground, please don't make those videos and expose your strategies and expose yourself. And there is this saying that it's only the noisy cricket that gets the knife at night.
Exactly.
So please let us be wise, and this discussion will continue. And comrade, I really want to thank you. You are a reservoir of knowledge. And Francis, before we sign up, I know you are the engineer behind, and I'd like to commend you for supporting us as an Ambazonian who, with me here in Boston, there are so many people that talk so much, and we have also I've also come to the realization that it is not those who talk the loudest that do anything. Do you have any final words to share, please?
I just want to thank our pal, or in your case, your comrade, Mr. Goderic, for, as you mentioned, being the wonderful encyclopedia that he is. When I hear stories like the one that he recounts, it makes me and people even younger than me to realize that there was never a way La Republic was going to get away with this.
Exactly.
Because you still remember, you guys still have that knowledge of what the Southern Cameroons was and what it can be again. So until they can kill every Southern Cameroonian that had that knowledge, they will never be able to get away with it. So with that, I just say thank you for having kept the embers and the fire going all these 50 plus years. until now that it has been set alight, and that together with the younger generations and with the guidance of persons like yourself that have lived that experience, we can forge the path forward. And I'm always happy to do my smallest part.
Thank you.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
It was for a reason that we were created with two eyes, two nostrils, two ears, two lips, because one hand cannot tie a bundle. And I would also call onto our leaders to talk amongst each other and work in solidarity and with cooperation, fight behind closed doors, and hold hands in unity when you go out, compliment each other when you go out. And also, we should know that it concerns me a lot to see that our leaders, our older generation, are dying are dying a lot in La République. And I question why. Is this just in natural death, or it is what is going on? So we should, the younger generation should dig out this history, because as you are going forward, if you are detached from your roots, as La République want us to do, we would not be firm on the ground. So on that note, the train has left the train station. All of us will jump on, and hopefully we will get to Boya soon with a full train. So thank you very much, comrade uh, Francis. And on this note, the struggle continues. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Fru Nkimben, and you are listening to African Hour.